Hello, I am Suzette Hussey, Dream Team member here at Art Anthology. Today I will show you how to upcycle a metal lid, producing a one-of-a-kind piece of art. Before you begin, you're going to have to drill 2 holes at the top of your lid and another hole at the base of your lid. I just marked with a marker like halfway. I just eyeballed it. I didn't measure. You can measure if you prefer. And drill a hole on either side and one matching at the bottom. This is where we're gonna put a hook so we can hang beads when we're finished. And this is where we're going to have the hanger. So for the hanger, I just have a piece of twine. And I am going to thread it through the hole and tie a knot several times so it's a bit bulky. That way it can't go through. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. At this point you decide how long you want your hanger. Do you want it to be all the way up there? Do you want it to be down here? That's up to you. So I want mine fairly long, so I'm gonna tie it right there. 2 knots should do, depending on the size of your hole and the thickness of your twine. I'm gonna trim off this as much as I can without getting too close to the knot. And then I'm going to move on to making the hook for there. This is just jewelry wire, 18 gauge. Any wire, thin wire will do. And I'm going to cut off maybe about 3 or 4 inches. To make the hook, you simply wrap it around the tip of your pliers, and then we're just going to twist it like that. I'm just giving it a squeeze to secure it, and then we thread it through the bottom hole, leaving the hook part outside. And then to prevent it from slipping out, we're just going to open up those 2 pieces right there, and then we'll glue those in place with some gel medium. So here's my gel medium. Let me just get a little palette knife and just add some down here. And a little up here as well to secure those knots. So now we're going to apply some broken eggshells for texture. These, to make the crushed eggshells, you just need to boil them, maybe soak them in bleach for a day or so, and then rinse them properly and dry them. That way it will, you won't get any funny smells and they'll be clean. To stick those down, I'm going to use some ModPodge. I've put it in a container because I don't want eggshells getting stuck in my big tub of ModPodge. So just put down the ModPodge as you would if you're sticking anything else down in a fairly thick layer wherever you're going to stick those shells. I want mine around the edges and mostly on that side. And then we're going to get our eggshells and just sprinkle them on. I'm putting a butterfly right there, so I'm going to try to leave there empty. So we're going to let those eggshells just stick on there, and then we can put another coat of Mod Podge on top if need be to secure them in place. When you're putting on your eggshells, it's a good idea to put some in the area down here to cover up where we put that hook to hang our beads. So I'm just going to add a little extra there. Same right here where we had our cord, our twine. Let's add a little bit extra there. This will be great texture when it's finished. As it starts to dry, you can just tip off any excess and put those back in there. Use it basically as you would use glitter. Put your brush in water and put that aside to dry, or if you're impatient, you can use your glue gun. It might be a good idea to put some gesso in a separate container because you might get eggshells stuck in your brush and it will end up in your gesso. It's a good idea to just push that under the lid, that way you don't get paint on it or gesso on it while you're working. You could probably even tape it down with some masking tape to keep it out of the way. I'm giving this a good coat of gesso. I might give it a second one depending on how it looks when it's dry. And then we will add any, mixed media papers you want to add, any book papers, tissue papers. I'm going to set this aside to dry, and depending how it looks when it's dry, I may give it a second coat of gesso. Once your gesso is dry, you can add any tissue papers or book papers, scrapbook papers if you want to add anything to the center here. That's up to you. I am going to add, I think, a piece of this tissue paper here. Just a small piece in the area where I'm going to have the butterfly. I always prefer to tear the tissue paper, not cut with the scissors, because the edges just sit down better, I find, when they're torn. So I'm going to put that there, get my Mod Podge again, and just add some to the back of my tissue paper. Make sure I get it completely covered, and then I will put it in place right there. I'll add some more on top. Oh, my brush doesn't look like it's very clean. That's okay. And if you wanted to add any words, book paper, you could, here. I think I'm going to add that right there as well. I'm then going to dry that quickly with my heat gun and add a little bit more gesso to the edges. wipe off of it if you like. You want to reveal anything that's gotten covered. And then we give it another dry with our heat gun. To prevent your jute twine from getting dirty, let's just tape it around here with 2 bits of masking tape to keep it out the way while we use our sprays. This is Wami Bay coloration spray, and this one is Siesta Key. They go beautifully together. Just take your spray and just give it a good spray around the edges. And then we're going to use a paintbrush and just move some of that around. Make sure it gets into all those little cracks and crevices. If you find that you need more spray, you can actually open it and just dab it down like that, or you can use it like a watercolor and just take out some with your paintbrush and push it down into those areas. Make sure you cover it when you're finished so you don't knock it over, because that would be a disaster. There we go. And we're just going to dry that. Next we're going to add Wami Bay. You can spray it like before. I'm just going to spray some on my mat hair and pick it up with my paintbrush. And go around the edges some. And then we're going to allow that to dry. This is when we finish painting this, I'm going to put my butterfly there and the word fly up there. I am going to use a piece of scrap mixed media paper and my stamps. I have these tiny letter stamps. And I'm just going to stamp the word fly and then cut it out and add it to my ornament. So we're just going to give that a quick dry before cutting it out. Just going to straighten that up a bit right here. See, I can put that there. And this will be hair. To make that pop out a bit more, I am going to go around the edges with an ink pad. Okay, now this is dry. I'm going to use the Metal Effects Dimensional Paint. This is gold. And I'm going to add some in the area where I'm going to stick my butterfly embellishment and also around the edges. Even though this is a dimensional paint, you don't have to use it as a dimensional paint. If you're concerned about the paint mixing with the ink, what you can do is give it a spray with some matte varnish or a matte fixative spray before you move on. So I'm just going roughly around the edges. Add in some dimension to the piece with the gold. I think it looks great. I'll go around this area one more time. This is where I'm putting the butterfly and the word fly. I think it will look great there. You can even go over some of these rough areas if you like, and just lightly add a bit of color. Add a bit of the color rather to the textured areas. And then we're going to leave this to dry. It's a good idea to go around the edges of a die cut like that. It helps the embellishment stand out when it's on your mixed media piece, your canvas, your journal page, whatever it is you're doing. So we're just going around the edges gently, and we'll leave that to dry. Same here. We'll leave both of these to dry. This is an instant dry ink, so it's actually very handy for mixed media, and it's also waterproof when it's dry. So let me just use the heat gun and give it a little help. Okay. Now here is dry. We can add our butterfly and the word fly. So I just have some regular two-way Scotch tape here, and I'm gonna trim it. About that for the word fly, and then again for the butterfly. Okay, so I need to decide where I'm placing them. I'm thinking of putting that there and that maybe a little bit further down actually, because I need my word in there too. So okay, let's put that there and put the word fly there. I think that looks great. So the first thing you're going to do, of course, is to attach that to your word fly, and then you can peel off that bit and just push it in place. For this one now, we're going to put it on both the wings so it's nice and secure. Peel off the backing. Position it. When you're happy with the position, you just press it down in place. One important thing that I should mention before you fully put it down is make sure when you hang it up that it's straight, because you don't want it to be hanging and everything's crooked. So just make sure, okay, that's my top piece there. So, and our hook is here. So yeah, this looks fairly straight. I think we're good there. So we can just secure it once you're sure that that's where you want it. Just push it down. And then the next thing what we'll do is that we can add some beads at the base here. So we can take off that masking tape now because it will no longer get dirty. Let's move these bits and pieces out of the way. And then we'll do add some beads to the base. Okay, now it's time to add the beads to the base. So what I have done here is I have a piece of twine because I chose to use twine. You could use any beading wire, regular wire, ribbon, or a strong enough thread. And you thread it through the loop that we have made right there. And then I used some floral tape just to wrap around the edges. I did this so that the beads, it could easily go through the beads because it's twine, it's going to get bunched up and everything. So you're going to need beads with a fairly wide hole if you're going to use the twine. If you don't have that, then you can use something thinner like I said before. And then we're just going to thread those beads onto the twine like that until you are happy with how it looks. This is actually quite cute. I think that is cute. There's just 5 of them. We just need to tie a knot now in the end, at the end rather, and it's kind of hard because I still have on the tape. If the tape gives you trouble, just take it off before you do this. So we're just going to tie a knot at the end to prevent the beads from rolling off. And then we just snip off the excess. There you have it. We're all done.